Hi, I'm Brooke Wagner, and I'm here with Dr. Brian Patrick to talk about his new book, The 10 Commandments of Propaganda. We're going to discuss the book in a series of short episodes, one for each commandment. Now I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Brian Patrick, the author of The 10 Commandments of Propaganda. Commandment number 4.
Commandment 4. Use group pressure to so-called horizontally shape beliefs and behaviors. Now, what I mean by horizontally is that most people think of propaganda as being this top-down so-called vertical effort where, you start at the top of the president and he issues propaganda and it goes down to the forces and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's true. That's the old style propaganda. But at about the time of World War II, social managers realized that if you really wanted to get at people, you had to get at the primary groups in which people lived. And we are social animals. I mean, this is what Aristotle said about us, and this is, we all have our primary groups. And I'll give you an example where this was some of the incident that a lot of this grew out of. At the end of the Second World War, the Americans were trying to get German troops to surrender. And the German army was a very resilient and effective organization. Even though it was virtually destroyed and being eaten from various sides, chewed off, it still survived as an organization. And believe me, this didn't go unnoticed by organizational behavior people, and especially by the American psychological warfare unit people. And they tried to get the German soldiers to surrender, like the Italian army and everybody else had surrendered, by issuing these leaflets and attacking the Germans on ideological grounds. They said, hey, they reasoned they were propaganda robots created by Nazi beliefs and inculcation of these beliefs. And so they tried attacking Nazism on ideological grounds. They had no surrenders whatsoever. They finally, the psychological warfare unit people got smart. They started interviewing, doing survey research, finding out the values and beliefs of the captured Nazi soldiers. And they found, they liked Hitler. They regarded him as a Nazi, they regarded him as a father figure. But as far as Nazi ideology goes, they were fundamentally ignorant. They didn't care. What did they value? They valued honor. They valued comradeship. They valued their buddies. They fought in a buddy system, and that was their small group system. And they realized, the American psychological warfare unit people, if you wanted to get the German army to break down, you attack it at the group level. So they came up with these safe conduct passes that they would distribute, drop on it from airplanes. And it said something like this: take this safe conduct pass. We guarantee you and your troop, your buddies, that we'll treat you well, give you warm food, hot clothes, hot shower, etc. And we'll treat you well. But go back to your unit and discuss this as a group and decide if you want to come forward. As soon as you did this, it became possible for these units to surrender without violating the buddy system, without violating their sense of honor. You would ask, hey Hans, why are we getting our rear end shot off out here? And Hans would say, that's a damn good question, Heinrich. And between the two of you, you could go off and surrender. And they started getting mass surrenders. Of course, they didn't learn this at the end of the war. Nowadays, groups are used in corporate management. It's the direction of corporate control and so on. They have what they call flattening the organizational pyramid, where they put people in self-managed teams. And the functional, practical effects of these, instead of having one supervisor, like you did under the old system, now you have 12 or 13. All your group members you are accountable to. And it's a much better way to change behavior. The old propaganda systems, the vertical ones, changed belief systems and attitudes. The new ones, the horizontal ones, change behavior. And a lot of you, if you're relatively young people, you've probably been exposed to DARE programs where you learned how to say no to drugs, where you did group work and so on, like little role-playing exercises. This stuff is all right out of the horizontal propaganda research that came out of World War II. Last example, we're social animals. We follow the crowd, which is actually a survival advantage. You guys have watched the Africa travel logs, National Geographic, and you know what happens to the first warthog that crosses the river. The crocodiles get them. So it's actually a lot of times better to follow the group. But we do this in public. Gambling casinos use what they call shills, where you'll get a bunch of attractive people to play around a gambling table with house money. People see, they say, wow, they're nice, attractive people gambling. I'm going to go join them. Last example, and you don't want this to happen to you. You may or may not have heard of what's called a Judas goat. A Judas goat is a goat that lives in a slaughterhouse where sheep are slaughtered. I knew of one such incident in Detroit, one slaughterhouse that had a Judas goat. And the sheep arrive in trucks, and they're led down to what's called the kill floor. This is not a euphemism. And the sheep are not stupid. I mean, they know their business, and they can smell blood, and they can smell fear. And they're not going down that chute. The Judas goat lives there. They lead him up, and he's trained to come down, down to the chutes, into the kill floor. And of course, the sheep being sheep, they follow another quadruped. Judas goat leads them down. At the bottom, the Judas goat is led off and rewarded with food, but the sheep are not. There's a lot of social type proof examples of persuasion out there in propaganda where you're expected, people are used as bait, attractive people and so on. Use group pressure, horizontally shape belief and behaviors. Commandment 4. Thank you.